Welcome to the More Phenomenal podcast. We talk all things Power Rangers, including action figures, comics, movies, and more. My name's Doug, joined with my co-host Caitlin. Mac will be joining us in a hot second, but we got Toyturd here today, back again. What's up? You look good, man.
Hey, thanks, man. You're looking good too. I like the morpher. He's got a morpher in his...
Yeah, thank you. We were just talking about comics right before this. But yeah, I see you're doing a cosplay going on. You're making your own Power Rangers?
Oh, I'm making my... So, yeah, I am. Like, the comic books, I think, really played with the designs a lot, right? Like, they brought in the Shattered Grid, it brought in these sentries that were kind of warped versions of the Red Rangers and the Black Rangers and stuff. And
yeah,
I don't know if you guys follow it, but there's this fan series called I think it's called Unworthy.
Yeah. It's the yep. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And they did a redesign. So I work with this guy, or I go through this guy called Starchild Props, and he's based out of Italy. Starchild Props, and he makes the official helmets of the Boom characters. So he made the official Omega Rangers that he had on display at Morphicon with the Boom Studio booth, and this is the official Ranger Slayer helmet that he put on display at the cons.
Oh,
so I love me some Kimberly Hart here, and I love the idea of Kimberly Hart growing up in this alternate universe, becoming this assassin under brainwash, and then it's this really cool character redemption where suddenly that spell's lifted, and she's been killing people for this guy under the spell for years. So it's kind of like what happened to Tommy, but times 10. And we get to watch her go, and the powers over time has shifted her helmet to this kind of evil Ranger Slayer helmet. So I got this helmet thinking the character was so cool, and have been working on like sketches of a version of that for myself, it's just so fun. It's just kind of taking the love of Power Rangers that I've always had and making it something different now, which is so neat,
That's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah. We haven't read any of the comics with Caitlin yet. We need to jump on that.
Yeah, right.
But let's talk about
that. Would give you guys a lot to go. They've been going on for a while.
Yeah, we got to start from the beginning. But let's talk about some of the stuff that happened this week. Lord Zedd's coming back to Dino Fury.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? You don't look like a fan, Toyturd.
Me?
Yeah.
Are you talking about? Yeah, I was gonna see if I was gonna give somebody else the space to talk. I'm bad with this three-way conversation thing. Yeah, so it's really exciting. I think that Power Rangers is tough to juggle because you have these long-term fans that take it seriously, and you have kids that are throwaways, right? That are like throwaways as in they're new to it. They kind of watch whatever you put in front of you, but they love it because the parents are into it and they get into it. And a couple times Power Rangers has done fan service by bringing back oldies and done it really, really fast to kind of keep the kids entertained. So even though it's for the adults, it's still done in a kid show setting. So like Jason will come back, but he'll be on screen for a minute. And it's more of like a throwaway. And so when Zedd was coming back, I got excited. I saw the compliance collar, which y'all posted about, which was so fun to see that. So that's neat that they're bridging. But I also noticed that it's part of their Halloween episode.
Yeah.
And that's out.
I agree.
The Power Rangers kind of known for doing a Halloween episode, and they are no Treehouse of Horror, unfortunately. They are really kind of like the throwaway kind of episode that even on like, well, we'll put that one at the end.
Yeah.
Just put it at the very end of the one.
Yeah, they used to be very clip showy. Yeah.
So while I'm excited about the idea of Zedd coming back, and it looks like they've had to rebuild the suit, and it looks like they did a good job with it. So physically, it's cool. I hope, some of these things, I think the coolest moment that we have is the leak on Instagram when you're really excited and you see a photo and your brain goes crazy about what this could mean, and you feel like a kid and you get nostalgic. And this might be one of those situations where yesterday was a real day. And then we'll watch it.
Mac.
Right. Well, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. Yesterday was cool. It was cool to see all those leaks of Zed fighting the Ranger. I mean, that was dope. That was great. I hope I feel the same way when I watch the Halloween clip. I hope.
yeah.
What do you think?
I am distracted by Mac. Can you see Mac?
But I'm sure I will.
Now I wish I had done that.
That's solid.
Applause.
Sorry.
Applause.
Here's my frog.
Is that why you were late? You needed your wardrobe?
Also, literally, I did this as the movie was ending. I because I got home from work so late. Hang on one second.
That is so cool.
Okay.
Mac has a put together Ninjetti Adam hood costume.
You'll have to take a photo.
Yeah.
Oh, can you not see me?
No, we can see you. I'm just saying if people are listening.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I'll take a photo.
We're
Also,
already in the session. We're talking about Lord Zed coming back.
Oh, okay, great.
The crap your frog logo. I mean, that's
Thank you.
It's pretty proportioned, buddy. That you kind of knocked it out of the park.
I freehanded that. Yeah, I thought it'd be funny if I made it Kermit.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Thank you. Ooh, it's really hot though. I'm wearing a lot of layers of black. Yeah.
The next thing that I guess came up this week is Izzy is now an official LGBT member TV show wise, because I totally overlooked. I forgot Trini had that kind of title from the 2017 movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, but this is way more exciting.
Yeah,
this is way more exciting than that, in my opinion. But this is like she's like front and center. This is a series.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Did you see the post? I follow this guy. I wish I could properly tag him. Maybe we could tag him on the post, but it's Pookina, Pukina, I think, and he's
the
showrunner. He's one of the showrunners on the show, and he posted after the cat was out of the bag and everything was out. He said, "Throwback to the little party we had after episode 13 was approved, and it was a slice of a cake that was all rainbow layers that they had."
Oh, cool! That's cool.
They wrote the episode and sent it in and didn't know if Power Rangers was going to say yes or no, and they got approval, and so they had.
Oh, how exciting!
Wow!
Well, now I want to watch the episode. I want it to be out.
Yeah, I think it's episode 13, like you said. I don't think it's out yet.
Do you think that would have happened in the Saban era? Do you think that's like a Hasbro era thing, or do you think that it's just like it would have happened anyway?
I feel like it would have been a throwaway sentence, like that it was just said off the cuff, but they wouldn't make a big deal out of it, kind of thing.
Well, I'm yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it would be like, oh yeah, it's like
assumed, not explicitly said.
Yeah, it might be kind of like innuendo, but like not explicit episode of LGBT.
Well, I mean,
characters.
Saban, I guess you could say Saban did it in the 2017 movie. So
that's true. Right.
That is true.
Right.
But can you get away with it more because it was a movie versus a TV show?
Probably, yeah.
I think probably. I think that I don't know how much Saban was involved with the creation, with the like creative aspect to that movie. Yeah. I mean, probably. I mean, I know he has to be to an extent, but
you know, like it's also, you know how like nowadays with Pride celebrations, it's really corporate, right? Like the Gap is Pride and Pride parties and that. Because Hasbro's such a big name.
Yeah.
It's almost Hasbro's brand to do this. Like, I mean, I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah.
At what point is a brand not exclusive if they're in a situation like this where it's so about diversity? If you don't introduce that, I mean, I think it's my buddy was saying to me, and I thought this was very true. Something like maybe little conversation. I think it's a lot safer to do it with a lesbian than it would be with a gay male character.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a good point.
You're right. Yeah.
I think having seen this, it seems like we see where Izzy at the end, I don't know if you saw the clip. I saw the clip where it shows her brother and he says, "Oh man, I thought that Izzy had a crush on someone." I guess that was the premise of the whole show.
Right.
Catcher and some, "Oh, look now," or something like that, and looks over and she's holding this girl's hands, her two hands, and then they kind of like, whatever, and then they go walk off, and it's this cute little moment, and then the rest of them are there and they go, "Oh, they're so cute," and they really did go there. But that would have been a lot different had that they looked over, and if it was, for example, the male holding another male's hand,
right,
and they sunset. So I think in some ways they did still kind of, I think there was thought put into it. What do you think?
I didn't even think about that. But that makes sense. Everything you just said.
It's very true, because you don't see nearly as many. I mean, you'll see the gay best friend kind of, or like a very feminine guy, but you don't really ever see, unless it's like a super like open, TV show, like where it's going to be a part of it. You'll just have like the stereotypical, "Oh, hey girl" kind of guy friend, versus you'll see a lot more girls holding girls' hands on TV, because for some reason that is easier to digest, I guess.
Well, I sort of think too that when you think about like the history of Power Rangers trying to sell action figures to boys, there's something to be said about like a woman becoming more masculine by being gay, but the opposite for a man, where it's like for
some reason a gay man can't be like strong,
right, or heroic, right. It's like, if they're trying to sell the Green Ranger to I mean, you could argue that it's like trying to reach like they're trying to reach the widest audience, because they're trying to get like, or like how they make more movies PG-13, because they're trying to open up that audience.
Yeah. I did notice the girl was the girl from the Olympics episode. Like she was her rival, right? And she
is it her?
Yeah.
I'm down for that ship.
That sprains her ankle or whatever, and then Izzy goes back and helps her. I mean, so far I think Izzy's been badass Power Ranger we've seen, like from the epic skirt rip that kind of put the show
the skirt heard round the world.
Yeah, the skirt, bro. I mean, put kind of the show back in and on the internet. Really, the show hasn't done anything that has really gotten a lot of like Muggle praise in the world, but the skirt rip, and I think it's kind of cool. It was a bit of a it reminded me of, I always think of Nate from Beast Morphers. Have you guys watched Beast Morphers on the show? Are you familiar?
Yeah.
Nate is this character that is clearly quite queer, or maybe I should use that word, that isn't my place, but he's clearly quite feminine and small, and I really applauded that. And then when I heard they were making him the Gold Beast guy, I really applauded that. And there was even that whole drama where Blake Foster called him a sissy, and then the internet shot back, and it was like this cool little moment.
I didn't hear any of that.
Oh yeah, it was a whole thing where Blake Foster, when he was announced, was like, "Oh, I guess some line." I mean, apparently it was a reference to the fact that he was a small, scrawny kid, but some line about how
they're all small, scrawny kids.
He was literally a child when he was
But then I thought it was such a cop out to make him this thing, and I'm not saying that character can't be heterosexual. I'm not implying his sexuality, but the fact that like the only character development we really gave him was the fact that he was in this relationship that really had, like, they put him in a relationship with a girl.
Yeah.
And I thought that whole thing was such a cop out, even with her. Like, her character was kind of the only interesting character, and then halfway through the season, like, oh, she's in love with this guy, and then we're not going to focus on her anymore. I don't think she's had a single episode of her again, because she's love interest of this guy, and that kind of just allows this guy to be a Power Ranger too. So I think they this skirt rip season, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we haven't got our figure yet.
Well, we haven't gotten any.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Beast
right,
Morphers.
right.
Yeah.
That's so ridiculous. Yeah.
All right, but what we're all here for, what Max dressed up for. Yeah. The Power Rangers 1995, the movie.
Yay!
We
I'm
did it.
freaking dying. I'm sweating.
Wait, it
in this
was made
thing
in
for this movie.
1995. Are you serious?
Yeah.
It came out in 1995.
Oh,
I
was
could someone
born.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm
I'm gonna
No,
look it up.
1995. I met
It-
Amy Jo on May 9th of 1995 because she was filming a movie called The Perfect Body. And
Ooh.
isn't that, I mean, that says a lot, the 37-year-old date of when that was. But she was filming The Perfect Body and I met her. And I remember because the movie was going to be coming out at that point. So it was so exciting that in real time Power Rangers was so big and exciting, and that she looked the same as the TV show, right? Because she was still
Right.
quite young at the time. So that was so cool. So yeah, 95.
Wow.
And I start just as like a geek question. I still know every word to that opening. Is there anybody else that also knows it, or am I alone in that?
You mean the opening on the plane?
Centuries ago, a legendary.
Oh.
Do you guys know that? Or is that
I don't know that.
This is the first time I've ever seen this movie.
Yeah,
I was 3 months old when this movie came out.
I was
Yeah.
caught off guard with some of the stuff in the scroll, like
yeah, some of the word, colossal assault vehicles. Yeah, I was like, yeah.
Assault vehicles known as Zords. Yeah.
I was
Okay.
like, are we just admitting they're weapons now? Like I
I thought it was. I remember watching it though, and so my boyfriend he lives in Los Angeles, but he was here visiting me for 3 weeks, and I have this Power Ranger nook with my shit in it, so it's kind of just a thing that we don't talk about it. And finally, I'm like, okay, I feel like I got to sit you down and watch this movie at least so you know why, like, what is this insanity that is in my house. And we watched it, and it was interesting to rewatch the film. And my first thought when watching it was, that's a pretty adult description of the show. Like somebody did a job of taking that ridiculous show and making like a 3-paragraph sum up that's pretty badass. Like assault vehicle, the six remained a guarded secret. Today, that tradition continues. You're like, whoa, this is great.
Yeah.
If anyone ever asks me what Power Rangers is about, I'm just going to screenshot that and send it to them.
That woman, like real noble voice centuries ago.
Who was that? I was trying to figure that out.
I don't know. Did they credit? Was Dulcia reading it?
Oh, I thought
it was.
Yeah, I don't know. I always assumed it was
I'll
her.
look it up.
Yeah.
I watched it. I watched that opening sequence twice, so I think it is Dulcia. The second time, I was like, "This has to be Dulcia. This isn't
right.
This isn't any rando."
It's interesting. Like the whole. Oh, sorry.
No. Gonna keep going about the opening, and it's time for me to put that to bed.
No, I mean, I was in a comment on the opening. Like, what's so interesting about this movie is the weird space that it inhabits between its legitimacy as a motion picture, and then like where it started, with the TV show, and how it there's this attempt to sort of like polish the edges a bit. This is a movie, so it needs to be movie quality. So like they have the new suits, and they have like the new Zordon, and they have the new Alpha, and they have this crazy new high concept description that they can use for the Power Rangers, to help like resell them really. And what I really picked up on watching it again and really kind of early on in the movie was that it really feels sort of like a reworked version of Day of the Dumpster in a lot of ways, where it's sort of like we're basically taking the bones of that plot and we're applying it again because it worked, and we're gonna have them like uncover a new monster, which causes them to go on a journey to get new powers, and then I mean, obviously you could compare that to like a lot of episodes of Power Rangers, but I thought it was interesting that you could kind of treat the movie like a pilot in some ways, or like an episode 1, like you were saying, where you're like introducing the concepts and you're introducing, I mean, it never really went that way. Like it would be interesting to see if they had continued the movie pitch of it, like, oh, like the sequel where Ivan Ooze comes back or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
I think it's also
Anyway.
really interesting and a shame, like and a lot of the things that I didn't understand at the time. Oh, hold on.
you're good.
Oh, I am. A lot of the things that I didn't understand at the time, I've seen to come understand as an adult, but I still don't understand this, is why this movie was completely zipped from the canon.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were to give them the powers. Like, it wasn't like we didn't go that route. We did. We just retold the same. The only real different ending is that we now have Ninjor to use in sequences. But
Yeah.
the fact that they never used it, the fact that the comic books, which have been thriving on nostalgia and geek tidbits, hasn't been like Dulcia on Phaedos can help us, or
Yes.
something. I mean, we've really just kind of all decided as a community that hasn't happened, you know?
Yeah.
Well, watching it again, you realize how much of it, like you're saying, could be farmed for the way that Power Rangers has changed recently. You know, as they're trying to, like you said, playing on nostalgia, but also kind of rework it to be more mature, but in a way that doesn't lose what makes it unique and what makes it, you know, fun for kids too. And Dulcia and the island, or like, I mean, it wasn't even an island, it was a planet. I thought that was crazy. I always thought they just went to an island. Like, I had no idea that they like going to a different planet.
Did you see that skull that had
the
thing
headset on?
Yeah, I thought that was
the-
awesome. I just like the world building.
Exactly. All the world building. I was like, we need to see that freaking weird yak face skeleton with the headset in the background of a Boom Studios comic, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm curious your thoughts. This is Caitlin's first time watching the movie.
It is my first time. I was still trying to find out who did the intro. I couldn't find it. So I really liked it. Way better than the Turbo movie, which is funny because I really liked the Turbo movie the first time I watched it.
You didn't even know what you were getting. Yeah.
Right. I didn't even know. It was only like 4 episodes in, and now a year later, I really liked it. I told Doug this earlier. I have some opinions on it.
Let's hear 'em.
But not like, because I feel bad because it was 1995. I didn't realize it was 1995.
What
So I
year
feel
do you
like-
think it was?
I thought it was like, I don't know. I think I thought it was like 2000s
Oh,
because
man.
of the music that was playing. But then as I thought about it, that was like the mid 90s. So it made sense. It just never occurred to me that it was as old as I am. So,
Yeah.
but the CGI was just kind of like, I don't know. It was just too much for me because it was so bad. But I think if I thought about it back 26 years ago, I think I would have thought, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's almost like you can't even mention it, you know? It's
It's I feel bad bashing on the CGI when like some poor guy was trying so hard and he thought that was the coolest thing he's ever created.
It was literally the best thing they could possibly imagine making, you know?
Yeah, you know that team like went home to their families and was like, look what I made.
Yeah. I actually got before I'll continue, I asked people what they thought of the movie, and one of the comments, sorry I don't have the name in front of me, but they said the CGI aged like milk in the sun.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. It did not age well.
That's super funny.
But I think Ivan is my favorite character now. I love him.
Ivan, I mean, if you bring back anybody, I mean, like,
bring back Ivan.
It's freaking Belloc from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's what I was like, why do I know this guy? And I looked it up.
I couldn't believe it.
Me too.
He could, I mean, just as a villain on his own, that he could create his own henchmen as well.
Yes.
Out of his spit.
Meat minds, and they all grow out of the ground, and they're and I think that fight scene is my favorite fight scene of all time out of the whole Power Rangers franchise. And I know that's a huge statement, but that fight scene in the construction site against the Oozemen,
Yep.
where they're all fighting out of their suits and Billy doing all the back handsprings that are all sped.
Yes, they do all the backflips to get away.
Yeah. Kimberly joins them, right?
I thought Billy joins her actually. I think like something like that. Like
Yeah.
anyway, but they definitely would be dizzy.
Billy does this thing in it. I teach gymnastics, so I'm an elementary school teacher and I teach gymnastics on the side. And I got into gymnastics because of Power Rangers when I was a kid.
There you go.
It's a great hobby.
Like the whole thing, it ruined my life. This show. But Billy does this move in it where he does a back handspring, and it's all the actors in that scene, which is why Aisha a lot of fighting. But he has a back handspring, and then after he lands on his hands, he does a half twist to his feet. So he does like a twist and a back handspring.
Like a roundabout almost.
Yeah, and that's actually not a gymnastics move. And the first thing I said when I met him is I said, I have to ask you about this move. Do you remember this move? And he kind of didn't remember. And then I looked it up on my phone because I'm a big nerd. And I showed him. And I said, did you come up with that or did somebody else come up with that? And he told me that he came up with that. And for some reason, that was the main question I wanted to ask. So I shared.
You remembered it.
Love it.
Yeah. That is a fantastic fight scene. I
feel like all the fight scenes were great.
We're moving past all my notes.
Wait,
we got to go back. We didn't even talk about the skydiving. We didn't even talk about the skydiving. Okay.
Skydiving was great.
That's one of the things I remember most about this movie.
Same. That's the thing.
My door opened very slowly. It was really creepy. Haunted house. No, the skydiving was great. I would never personally do it, but if I was going to watch anyone skydive, it would be the Power Rangers.
Well, like Doug, I think that part left the biggest impression on me as like a 9-year-old or whatever when I first saw the movie, because it was just it's a pretty memorable way to start it, but then also you just can't help but remember Tommy having the snowboard or whatever, and it just kind of like trumping everybody else. Like that's what I remember as a kid the most, was that he had one and no one else did.
Of course he did. It's Tommy.
I know. At the time, like I'm pretty sure that, this is 95, so I can remember the first time I saw this movie. And I don't remember if I had seen the show before it, because that wasn't, by the time I could comprehend English language, it was a different season on TV, So like, I think that I might have seen the movie before I saw the show, It
was your gate, right?
For me, I had it where I saw the movie and I was following the show, but like, I never I knew Ninjor was around, but like I don't remember the 3 episodes that they got the powers. Like I just remember like they got them from the movie. It kind of ties into each other.
Well, so for Doug and Jerome then, like, do you remember sitting in the theater when it came out and like seeing it for the first time?
So I went on opening day.
Okay.
I'm like a hardcore. I went on opening day, and I remember the excitement of the suits because we had the show. By that point, it was, the #1 show. So it was very popular prior to this movie. So there was a hype at the time. And, we had I don't have them out, but, we had those original boxed toys with the big muscles that were sold out all the time. So it was a big deal. And I remember the ads came out for the movie, and I remember it came out and kind of talking what you said about the aesthetic change. It was almost too big to comprehend because it was everything. Sure. It didn't announce that it was going to look different, but everything looked different. They showed you the command center. They showed you Alpha. They showed you them.
Right.
And it was like everything was like, for a little kid, I was 7 years old, everything was just like, oh my God, it was so big. And I remember even like speaking to the skydiving scene, like even Kimberly acts quite a bit more sexual in that scene. I don't know if you remember in the beginning, but when she's talking to like,
I picked that up too.
And she's like, guys, you might want to slip those on. And she's talking a lot kind of cutier and sexier and stuff.
Right.
And I remember the whole thing just seems more Hollywood and produced. Mm-hmm. And
really
yeah. With the licensed music, it trying to like kind of almost made them feel like real people more, or like they were a part of our world more, because they shy away from popular culture. You never see popular culture in Power Rangers.
And the first like 10 minutes, you see them being like normal teenagers. Well, I mean,
Well,
other than the fact
normal
that
for
they're
them.
skydiving. Yeah.
skydiving.
Other than
like,
skydiving.
So
But I mean, then they're roller
rollerblading.
skating and they're like,
Yeah.
hanging out and, doing
color
things
coordinated.
color coordinated always. But you know what I mean? They're hanging out and it's not at school. It's not at the random same park that we see every episode. And it's not fighting, like monsters. We actually see more of Angel Grove and we see the people that live in Angel Grove and we see them just being normal teenagers.
It was interesting to have this different aesthetic approach to Angel Grove, like to make it feel like, my backyard, like growing up in LA or something, as opposed to really tight shots and, and the only time you see the city is when it's in the Megazord fight. But sorry, we kind of cut you off, Jerome. What were you saying?
I don't remember, but I'm gonna say something else. But I don't.
Okay,
remember.
say it.
I'm just gonna go with it. So the two things, the rollerblading scene was the scene that really inspired me as a kid. Y'all talked about the skydiving. I remember the roll, like the free ride playing in the
Yep.
and they're skating through. I remember being like, I want to be those people. I remember thinking it was the coolest thing. And at the end of that, when they get their call and you can see Ernie's in the background, and Ernie's is like this outdoor Sydney.
Ernie's in the background? Did I miss that?
Oh yeah. Well, we see Ernie's twice. We see
Ernie's
like the juice bar.
Yeah.
But not him.
No, not Ernie himself. Ernie's restaurant is in the background. They're on their way to Ernie's on the rollerblading.
Okay.
And see this kind of outdoor restaurant that says Ernie's across it, and they're on their way there. And I thought that was also cool. But I was thinking when you were mentioning the city, it was neat to see how different they decided to represent the city in 1995 and 2017. Like 2017 did a sleepy seaside town, which is like here in Vancouver, and that's where they filmed Once Upon a Time, and they go for that kind of storybook,
right?
Small thing compared to that, which was like Sydney, Australia, right in the heart of it, huge skies,
big beach, and yeah. Well,
I'm
just
ahead, before I want to piggyback on that because you asked what we thought when I saw it.
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing it in theaters, but I know I did, and I remember all of the stuff around it. Like I remember the trailer, I remember the posters, and my favorite thing was the McDonald's action figures, because those were the only action figures that looked like the movies guys at the time.
Well, it like I kept thinking watching the movie, I kept thinking like, what was it like experiencing the hype for this movie? Because they really just put so much into the production value in a way that Power Rangers never had before. And it really just must have felt like, like you were saying, so exciting and just so epic and just being like, wow, like here it is. And I kept thinking about what it would have been like to, 7 years old. You guys are pretty young, but like experiencing sort of like the aftermath of it, where
it a lot. Did I cut you off?
No, okay. You're fine.
Sorry, I'm bad with the four-way thing. No. It reminded me a lot. I'm the youngest of siblings, and my house had been trying. The children in my home had been chasing the high of going Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the movie when it came out. And I say chasing the high because they had grown up with the cartoon, so had I.
Right.
And suddenly Jim Henson's thing was like, it was the real thing, and they were real, and you could touch them, and they and it was this thing. I remember I was in grade 1 when that movie came out. No, I was younger than that. I was young. But the local newspaper had printed out a black and white picture of what the turtles were going to look like, because that's all we had. And remember, I cut out this black and white picture and taped it to my bedroom wall, because it was like magic to me. Like they're real. And I think this felt very similar to that suddenly these taken and they were real now. There were these real things. And even I think the scene that really hit home, talking about that feeling of, oh my God, it's here, they're real, was the new morphing sequence, Remember how they all yell pterodactyl, and then they lift the thing up, and you hear the noise of the bird, and the coin shoots out.
Yeah.
And they made that morphing sequence so exciting. If you're a kid and you're used to seeing the green screen, thing all the time, and then suddenly it was them yelling it in the actual quarry they were just standing in.
Right, in the same location. Right, yeah.
Yelling it and not with it flipping open, but they and I mean, it was so exciting. It was
right.
It was,
they don't get a haircut change, or whatever. yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Pink Ranger power. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess like it's interesting you compared to the Ninja Turtle movie, because I thought watching it that it felt very similar. Like it felt especially similar to like Secret of the Ooze, where the fighting became more about being fun and playful and less about actual punching and kicking. Even though there's some
they very much kill some of these dudes.
they do some really violent stuff, but at the same time, like there's this playful banter part of it that like I think the first Ninja Turtle movie like was more mature than the second one, where it got like suddenly it was like it had to be more kid friendly.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting because like where Ninja Turtles became a whole franchise, like they did 3 of them, and sure they did Turbo, but like I couldn't help but imagine being a fan at the time and kind of being disappointed that Turbo didn't try to bring the level of hype that the first movie brought. Like, did the movie not do well? Because it seemed like it was poised to do pretty well.
So it didn't do very well.
Okay, that's yeah.
So by the time Turbo came out, it felt I was already on my way out because Amy Jo had left. I mean, I'm not Amy Jo show, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to just punch her up, but she was really it for me at the time. I loved her, and so she had left, but I was kind of
sorry, just to cut you off. We watched an episode 2 weeks ago or last week, and it was like it was a random episode, but it was like Kimberly had a gymnastics thing. She's like, this gymnastics guy is in town for this competition in France, and then the next episodes were where she leaves, and we were like, oh, this is the beginning, Kimberly.
The beginning of the end, anyway, sorry
to cut you off on that.
That whole season kind of interesting with her because you could tell that she gave them very little time. I mean, season 3, Kimberly was either sick or the amount of time.
Yeah, she was always sick on the phone.
And she was filming movies. She was filming like 3 movies at the time. So she had like certain days that she could go to set. So they'd film all of her stuff together and then leave. But she ended up not being around a lot. So it was kind of like, at the end where you just want your parents to divorce in the end because it's time, It's
we're just dragging it out,
It's like, get it, girl. You don't want to be here. That's okay,
Well, I think it's obvious too, watching this movie, that she, performance-wise, always had something the other Rangers didn't. Like a lot of them aren't bringing a film quality energy to their performance.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
I agree to that. Yeah.
So to answer your question, Mac,
except for
about
Broken Skull.
whether or not the movie did well or not, the budget was $15 million, but they made in the box office $66.4 million.
Oh, so I was really.
Yeah, it did receive mixed reviews from critics. Critics praised its action sequences and performances, but felt like the film was nothing more than a longer episode of the series with better special effects and pointing to the plot and screenplay as the main faults. It is considered a cult classic.
Movie,
right? Like, the bar's not that high.
and it really, I think, ages well as like a kid's adventure action movie. Like I would show this to anybody, any kid.
Agreed. But one thing I will say about the movie that I liked was when they got summoned to the command center, they had a mission that they had to go put this guy back before he was like released, as opposed to just go fight the monster. Like it seemed like they
were trying to avoid.
Let me look at my notes because I want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
I was very confused at first because they like called him Ivan, and then I realized it was Ivan Ooze, so there was like a full name to it. But I only heard Ivan, So I thought I thought this egg that we were looking at was named Ivan. It's
It
like,
was.
what? I was like, why would you name it Ivan?
That's so funny. Or like the egg opens and this
Yeah.
where's looking man comes out and I
Yeah.
I'm
I was like,
Ivan.
Ivan, where did someone who sat in the office saying, all right, who's our villain? Ivan.
Let's talk Dulcia.
Okay, we can
Love
talk
her.
about Dulcea. I mean, it was really cool early on in us doing the podcast. That story broke about Mariska. Is it Mariska Hargitay that played her originally, and then they dropped her?
Mhm.
So I was like, since learning about that, and deciding that we were putting off the movie until episode 100, I've been so excited to see Dulcea and get like refresh in my mind what her character is.
Uh-huh.
But anyway.
I felt like I was
lots of
watching an
skin.
episode of
Lots of
Dino.
skin.
Yeah, I was like, she's sexy. I'm into that.
But there was like no fabric on the under part. Like
No.
as soon as you'd start walking, I was like, you need to like censor that almost. It was getting close.
I love how she's fully cloaked and then just nothing.
when she, yeah, she
She's like
shows up.
Andros.
She shows up like freaking Ben Kenobi, like saving Luke Skywalker. She even does the crate dragon call. She's like, woo! but instead of chasing them off, she's just like, here I am, and I'm sexy. And then they fought.
I didn't put together like I was like, wow, each movie really needs something. Like, because Diva Talks is just busting out of her suit. This girl like has no suit.
but I like how Dulcea was like, okay, she's too sexy. We can't bring her back for the show. We're gonna use Ninjor. But then like Diva Talks is fine. But like every week we could look at Diva Talks.
Yeah. It's okay that her boobs are almost falling out of the makeshift bra.
No, but definitely this movie, like Jerome was saying about Kimberly, like it wasn't trying to hide its sex appeal. It was trying to
because she was wearing freaking short shorts and a crop top the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, it was like ticking boxes of what's in a movie, what's in a major motion picture, like what, like with the licensed music and just like anyway.
I love that Aisha's outfit is the same exact pair of shorts, but she's wearing a sweater. So it's like she woke up today and she's like, nah, I'm going to let Kimberly freeze her butt off. I'm going to be warm.
No, but
I actually meant about that, but I didn't mention it because it's a whole big theme. But I think that says more about the way that we looked at race in the 90s. The fact that there was two young, hot chicks and dressed like Kimberly and really played up the kind of the Teddy, like the little Barbie doll talk.
Right.
It didn't always do, but so that was directed in some capacity because she wasn't always like that. And then there was Aisha, who was probably, let's call it, originally written as Trini, because the cast change happened quite quickly. So at least the first three versions of that script just had a different name for a red, black, and yellow ranger.
Right, might as well, right.
Yeah.
So then you have this other ethnic ranger who's, that they don't, how would that have gone in a kid's show, 90s show, if Aisha, with her very dark skin, had all that skin showing that Kimberly had? I don't know if they would have done that.
Well, they could have probably saved a lot of money if they had just put her in a crop top because she was wearing a Nike sweatshirt. So every time it zoomed in on her, they had to probably pay Nike some money.
But actually, I'm really glad you brought up the Nike sweatshirt, because that was sort of like, when you look at the clothing they wear in the movie, like the little boy, Fred, has a Air Jordan hat on the whole time, you get the impression that because this movie was set up to be such a big deal in pop culture, like Power Rangers is on top and they were finally getting a movie, here it is, why wouldn't Nike want to sponsor that? I'm sure Nike was like, let us put Nike clothes on the Power Rangers. They're about to be in this huge movie. And I think that's really interesting because, of course, in the show they have to hide any labels, and it's like they almost have to dress like they're wearing hand-me-downs or something. I mean, not really, but like a name brand logo, like it was almost like semi-jarring to see on a Power Ranger. So it was cool. It was cool to see like how much the world had invested in this movie. You know, Nike was like, yeah, of course, it's no brainer we want a Power Ranger to wear our hoodie.
Yeah.
You know, or anyway.
No, I like that. I'm happy that you said that. I think that's a really good point. I was reading a bit of the Wikipedia page before this, and it was interesting to see what the Dulcia character had as a bit of a backstory. And in original scripts, it talked about how she was part. I feel like, oh my goodness, hold on one second here. I feel like Caitlin is so good with facts that you actually might know a bit more than me. I don't know if you're on it or not, but it does. It says that she was on an initial order with Zordon where they fought Ivan Ooze, and it talked about the Ninjetti Temple and why she was there and how she was an ancient race of something aliens. There was a whole backstory to Dulcia and why she was connected. And then as they rewrote it, they ended up cutting a lot of that out. But apparently, her and Zordon fought on a team of freedom fighters. I might be coming up with that name. Do you see that on the Wikipedia page?
I'm looking.
Well, even in the movie, they allude to the fact that Ivan Ooze had to fight a team of teenagers 6,000 years ago. And
Right.
And like it's interesting to think about, like, well, what would have that looked like? You know, like if Dulcia and Zordon were putting a team together of Power Rangers, like were they the Ninjetti Rangers 6,000 years ago? You know, maybe.
I'm writing this piece of fiction right now. Like I started writing some Power Rangers fiction, geek alert. I haven't posted any of it, but I've been really having a lot of fun. And I teach at an elementary school, and I'm talking about writing, and I've been coming home and doing some writing a lot.
Nice.
And breaking into this character, like a backstory of Dulcia, just for fun, and as like a writing exercise in the mornings. And I think she's a really interesting character. There's so many tidbits of lore and backstory to her, but we never really found out. So if you ever wanted to play with who is Dulcia, why is she there, how is she involved in this, how can she give them their Ninjetti powers, you know, how would that fit into the Morphin grid, who are she says the ruins of the Ninja Temple.
Yeah,
so
it was called the Order of Meridian.
the Order of Meridian. And what
after the Order's enemies were defeated, she returned to Phaedos and didn't hear from Zordon for centuries. She was also the only surviving descendant of the Nethadians, a race brought by the great power of the... What's the planet's name again?
They're from
Phaedos?
Phaedos, yeah.
Phaedos. From another time and dimension, legend has it that the Master Warrior, as the Master Warrior, she was the only one who knew the secrets of the great power. She also has a green pet anteater named Snuggle.
What? They dropped all that cool shit. That's, yeah.
All bullshit. Justice. Hashtag justice for Snuffle.
I was
There's
wondering,
also-
Yes.
why
Bring
was
back.
she should have just been like dressed like a green Ninjetti person.
So
It would
I
have been
think,
cool.
I wonder if kind of part of the initial design. So when you were talking about that, when we were talking about her outfit and what the backstory with the Ninjetti, I wonder if there was, because you know, she maybe not. But with her having the big robes and stuff, I wonder if there was an element of her almost having part of that aesthetic with her I don't know.
Well, they chose to make her a color that wasn't there, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like an unused Power Ranger color.
So it says here that like 4 people were supposed to play her.
Yeah, she was one of those ones that just like something happened to each one.
Yeah, well, apparently Gabrielle Fitzpatrick was around the same age as the rest of the team, so they were unsure if she was going to be a teenage girl or a young woman.
I'm glad they went with a little older woman.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all on the Power Wiki.
Well,
She's
interested.
Like, she's so beautiful. She's so hot.
yeah.
I did find it a little bit uncomfortable as a child, those like beats of her kind of flirting with Tommy and Kimberly standing right there. You're like,
Mhm. Well, what's funny is on the wiki, it says that in a parody, she is sexually attracted, and it says that in quotes, to Jason. So I think it's funny that it's Tommy.
Well, it seems like, you know,
Gotta go for the other
well,
one.
it's interesting though that like you were saying, like Jerome was saying about the script having all these different incarnations where it was different teams, and obviously like because it's based on really only 2 teams, but because it's based on a show, of course, like most movies based on shows are informed by the character development in the shows themselves. They save the time that you would use in a movie to develop their personalities because they know the audience knows the characters already.
Yeah.
But that being said, it sort of felt disappointing that they didn't choose a single Power Ranger to have an arc in the film. Like it felt like nobody grew at all.
I would
Like,
I would say that. I would say Kimberly was kind of the main character if you could pick a main character.
Yeah.
She was always
go ahead.
worried about Zordon.
She was worried. I mean, it seems like the movies, like Tommy's our hero, Tommy's our main character. Like, you know, like you were saying, Dulcea gives him more attention. He gets the more exciting adjectives when he's being described, you know, about his eagle and stuff like that.
He's not a prince.
Yeah, which is also like, you didn't even say what a frog is good for. Like,
Yeah.
I was really disappointed by that. I was like, sure, like Adam got a kiss, which I'm sure like he's a teenager, like that made him happy, like that satisfied him there. But I kept thinking, like, why don't you say some stuff about how like frogs are the most ninja like of anybody there?
Yeah.
You know, like they can jump and climb and stick on stuff and like what's a crane gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that was a Johnny Young Bosch line.
It was a Johnny Young Bosch line, but I just thought, like, what was the script's original like pitch on the frog? Like the frog jumping and sticky.
Jumpy and sticky. I actually found Kimberly annoying in this movie.
Oh.
Normally I love Kimberly, but the ew, or like the fact that she couldn't protect herself and
hiding
Power Ranger.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Even
when she was
Aisha,
like,
even though she was running, she was kicking it away at least, and she like fell over and wasn't like screaming for Tommy to help. Like, I don't know. I just found her really annoying.
Is
this is
the
no. This is the dinosaur that was attacking them on the planet. Yeah, it just really bothered me.
She also got captured with the Tenga Warriors, but they say Tengu in this.
So apparently they changed the name. Yeah. So for the TV show, it was Tenga, and for the TV movie the movie, Tengu. I noticed because when I was trying to Google to see if I could get a cheap deal on a Tenga Warrior for the Lightning collection, because I haven't got one yet. I was in. I know. I have to get one. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But
same.
They're not a Tenga. They're not a Tengu. They're a Tenga, which was funny. I always thought they were Tengu.
I always thought they were Tenga.
Are they designed differently for the show in the movie?
No, they're the same thing.
It's the same suit, I think. Yeah, it's the same suit.
They'd already made him, so I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a story that I've heard Johnny Young Bush say is he stole the frog off of his ranger suit. He stole the green or the gold thing.
That's
on the
hilarious.
Suit. And he says there's a what's the Hollywood movie restaurant?
Planet Hollywood.
Yeah, there's a Planet Hollywood with the suits that's missing the thing because he took it.
Why don't they just use the mastodon? He had it in the first half of the movie.
Max, it's right there.
Yeah.
With the
so funny.
I thought it was funny.
Well,
probably because they didn't tell him what a frog meant. So
also, like, how many Planet Hollywoods are there? Where's this Planet Hollywood that the Power Ranger suits are at? Like Abu Dhabi? Like, where's this like Planet Hollywood? Like,
I'll find out.
Yeah,
I think it's in Florida or something. He said.
Oh well, they do have a couple at Disney World in Florida. Yeah. So,
all right, what else do you guys want to talk about?
I have a lot to talk about. Are you kidding me? I have so much to talk about. Anyway, go ahead.
I was gonna say Bulk and Skull got less play than I remember.
They got nothing. I was so bummed. Like, they didn't even really get that many funny lines when they were teamed up with the kid at the end, and that was like the moment to give them good lines.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I liked Power Rangers, Bulk and Skull at the very end when the fireworks are going off. And
I like that.
I did think it was funny that that Bulk and Skull still didn't know they were Power Rangers, and they skydived with them, and they had the outfits on. Like, they looked the most like Power Rangers than ever before.
Yeah,
sorry.
I thought the same thing. Like, how did they not figure it out?
I don't know, but they're dumb. They're famously dumb. Anyway, sorry.
All right, what else you got to say, Mac? You got a list of things.
Well, I think the drum. Were you saying something?
I was just I wanted to just acknowledge how cool the Ninjetti Temple was, and not only a little bit about how they got their powers, but I love that. I mean, it was cheesy and eye rolling, but at the time it wasn't. Let me tell you.
Sure.
Dalcia leaves, turns into the owl with the little zoo tag on its ankle, which is hilarious. And then where Tommy's overlooking the jungle at the monolith, and he's kind of everyone's stretching in the background, and he goes, "It's time," almost like a Karate Kid movie or something. And how they were all in the background, even Aisha. I say even Aisha because she didn't get a lot of fight time in that. But she's even in the background stretching her wrists, and everyone's kind of training and stretching in the background. And then he's like, "It's time." And I don't know. I thought
stretching.
That's good.
Stretching and prepping and training or whatever, before they leave and go to the jungle. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Let me look at
My favorite part was Zed and Rita cheering for the Power Rangers.
that was really funny. That
was my favorite part.
They didn't get enough play, in my opinion. I thought that Lord Zed's movie costume looked freaking dope.
Yes.
Like,
with the moving head.
He looked
brain.
the pulsating brain. He looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, but if he's the cold miser, then this guy's the heat miser.
Why did they make Rita also dumb in this movie though?
They're
Like in the beginning, I know, but like this was like more dumb than usual. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it's the scene where they're looking at the egg and she looks like she's never seen an egg before. and then she puts her hand in it, and I get that that was supposed to be the setup for the snot joke, but like I felt like they really failed Kimberly and Rita in this movie. And I can't say anything for Aisha because Aisha didn't have enough lines for me to think that she was dumb in this movie. So
one who I did like? I did like Mordant, the pig guy.
Oh yeah, he was hilarious.
So I wonder what that script meeting looked like, where they decided, because opinions, and I get that you're not going to bring them all into the movie for just to stand there. It doesn't make any sense. So you dropped Babu and Squat and Finster, and you replace him because Goldar has to interact with someone. So you keep Goldar, give him that outfit that's a little bit too crisp and clean for me, but whatever, give him an outfit.
He did get a fly, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And then you bring in Mordant, who is just like extreme slapstick.
Yeah.
I liked him. He had a funny line when Ivan was like, "Don't forget, I'm the blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "How could I forget? I didn't even know that."
I liked when he said, "I had a week back. A week back." And I didn't get it at first. And I was like, "Oh, a week ago." Like, I thought, I was like, who's this fucking
I really liked them because they were like the villainized version of Bulk and Skull.
Yeah.
It really just kept reminding me of Ninja Turtles. Like it felt like they had such Bebop and Rocksteady vibes. Like even the fact that he was a pig.
You are really knocking it out of the park tonight with these things. Well, what my one thing that my boyfriend said when we watched it, because he was new and they got the powers, right? And they're walking through chaos. I'm kind of skipping ahead. I apologize, but I just wanted to say this part. And when they get there and the gargoyles come down and it's time to fight, and they go Ninjetti, the Falcon, the blah blah, and he goes, "Oh cool, their powers, I wonder what their powers are going to do." And I'm thinking like, oh, they're not going to do anything, but he didn't know, because he's excited to finally see what is it going to do now that they're morphing and they have their mouthpieces. And then he goes, "Well, what do they do?" And I go, "Well, they probably just feel more agile, maybe."
They learned kung fu in those 2 seconds. Like you didn't know.
They also already knew that, but
well, sort of. I mean,
well, Tommy can do this flying kick thing, the spinning kick from the top now, I guess.
They
like
get more cynical and jokey about death. Like I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny when Kimberly's like, "Let's rock his world," and then proceeds to crush someone to death. That's like. I was like, Kimberly, you don't say that before you do that. I mean, I know they're mindless, like, skeleton people or whatever, but still.
Yeah. It would be funny if that would be something that the powers did almost in a way, like Zordon's bringing in these humans. He knows that there's this built-in like horror of having to kill these things, and if the powers just made you a little bit of a sociopath and just turned off this idea of caring about killing people, I don't know. But yeah, it was funny to explain what the powers could do, because as a child and as somebody watching the show, I just thought it was so cool that now they have the little half masks.
Now they look like ninjas, you know. Yeah.
And they don't have the eye things like the show does.
Thank God. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, no, but that's the same principle what you're saying, and that's like why they give child soldiers PCP. You know, it's like the same thing. It's like when they morph, like it just becomes a video game, and suddenly all the people they're killing aren't people. You know.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Sorry.
Right? Yeah.
That's the pitch.
That's the pitch.
It was it was crazy talking about death when Ivan was just like, parents, go kill yourselves, and the kids have to stop them.
And the kids are like having a house party, and a freaking Fred is like, guys, I'm not lying, our parents are gonna die.
Yeah, they're like partying it up like the Jimmy Neutron movie, like just making milkshakes and shit.
But to be honest, okay, but think about it. If you were that age and your parents disappeared, would you be Freddy or would you be the other kids?
I wouldn't be
Fred.
either. I'd be at home afraid. Like, when are my parents coming home?
Why have my parents left me?
Yeah, like I know how to turn on the TV, but I don't know how to make food.
All right, I have a question for you guys. If this movie was made now, there would be some innuendo at the end about like what villain was next or some after scene. What do you think would have done? Like some boat Divatox coming in the water or something?
Well, it's funny because this movie kind of did have an after credit scene in a way. It had like a hidden scene, you know, with Goldar. Well, it wasn't really like it wasn't hidden. Like you didn't have to watch much of the credits to get to it. But the movie kind of
I was
ended.
jamming to the end credits.
Oh yeah,
Soundtrack.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack.
I think if the movie was made today, what you would see is more nostalgia for the show. And I think that you would see more callbacks to monsters from the show. Like, even if they don't do anything from the show, they would like still be there. Like Eye Guy and stuff like that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if just for the iconography, you know? Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this was our closing remark. If it is, I'm okay with that. But I do have to tell you that the fact that it ended the way that it ended was and will always be so upsetting to me.
Which way?
Aisha's button in case of emergency to knee him in the crotch.
Oh God, what a dumb! Yeah,
about that.
There's the other adult joke. What? Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah, an adult joke. Second of all, a joke, and that's how the whole
Did I miss that?
thing. Well, so they fly up to Orion's comet, which they have been kind of
Kind of. They should have made Fred's dad an astronomer. Like, I'm like, why is he even a firefighter? Like, he was at the astronomy. He was at the freaking at the fundraiser. He was at the fundraiser.
Maybe he's a too hot astronomer, and they had to make him. I don't know what.
Anyway, sorry.
And they can't. He's not going to let go of the Megazord. The comet's coming at both of them, and they're like, we have. Billy, I'm assuming, says we have to break free or something along those lines, and Aisha says, desperate times call for desperate measures, and there's this goofy button that says in case of emergency only, and she flips it up, and there's a big button.
Breaks it, right?
She has to like elbow the glass.
Oh yeah.
And it knees him in the crotch, and he does this goofy, knee in the crotch thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he flies and he gets hit by the comet. And I remember even as a kid thinking like, oh no, we ended on a joke, because the movie kind of took itself seriously enough.
Yeah.
That almost fell off our trajectory. Like, we were all in this together with how much we could joke, but we were all there. And suddenly this kind of went off, and you're like, oh no, that's this.
Yeah.
I think I had like erased that from my mind, because I was like, what are you guys talking about?
No, especially because you think about, I mean, just even practically, why would Zordon or Dulcia or whoever, who in the right minds would make a weapon in a vehicle from the Morphin grid have like a nut meaning like button? Like what
a
even is
nutcracker.
not? Yeah, like
It's
who
the
even thinks?
nutcracker.
And why would you put so much pageantry around the button? Like it just seems so extra. It's like, why isn't that for laser
Because
vision?
this is
Why
what I imagine. I imagine Zordon putting this together, and he goes, I should put a button. What should the button do, Alpha? And Alpha goes, I don't know. Somehow incapacitate the enemy. And then just Zordon going, I know what I'm going to do.
Oh my God. Zordon's too freaking boring to do that. I think like, I think like that had to be Ninja or somebody like that. I don't know.
Maybe Zordon had one thing, and then Ninja came over and was like, I'm going to change it.
Yeah, I don't know. But it is silly. And it definitely begs the question, like, what is, like, what like, what do they consider an ultimate weapon to be? Well, yeah, but just like the idea of like the ultimate Megazord that they just fought the whole movie earning's best ability is that, and not like something ninja themed, or maybe it is ninja themed because it's like a sneaky attack.
Holding them, I mean, you know, whatever. But if he's holding the Megazord and then suddenly they all hit a button and then the Zords all come apart and he loses, and then it hits the thing, or I don't know, or something.
And
no, that's a good idea.
That's good last resort too, because who wants to sacrifice the Zords?
Or sacrifice the Zords by having like maybe just the head, like the button hits it and just the head pops off, so then they're safe, but then the Zords almost get sacrificed in a way.
I thought it was cool. I mean,
like that.
Despite the CGI being so jarring, I actually really liked the designs for their individual Zords.
Yes.
Like I was surprised about that because I remember thinking that I remember how ugly their Megazord is.
Yeah.
With his like stupid, like I don't even know, like weird head.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what his head is. Like I don't even know. Like I can't even think of a joke. But when they were robots, they looked really like, you know, that the eagle is cool. Shooting the missiles out of the wings is cool. Like the wolf looked great. The frog looked great, you know.
The bear looked cool. I really remember the bear looked dope.
They'd be good toys. You know, they thought about like, who wants a toy of the Megazord from that movie?
The eagle.
Nobody.
I thought his was cool.
Yeah. And it was interesting too how they kept cutting. Like I liked how even though they had this like CGI quota, which was exciting at the time, and you know that and all that, but they still were really traditional with how they filmed a lot of it. Like, and it felt a lot like a Power Ranger episode with the close-ups of the cockpits being practical, and even like the eagle saving the train car having a lot of miniatures. You know, like I was like, oh wow, like obviously miniature work is really prevalent in Western filmmaking, but having it be almost always, if you see it in Power Rangers, it's Sentai footage. Yeah. So it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to like get this other side of it where it's like, oh, we finally got like an American produced Power Ranger thing where they had to use miniature work, you know, for the Megazord fight.
I thought it was really neat too how they, you know, the way that the Megazord put together and the look of the stuff was taken from the Sentai, but that Sentai hadn't been on the show yet. So it must have been really cool to be an American designer, like design team, and to be shown this Japanese footage and be like, hey guys, we're going to recreate this Japanese miniature stuff, but in CG. And it's, you know, the bear looked different in the show, but it was still a yellow and black bear, and it's still morphed to the head of the body of the thing. So what a cool, you know, the wolf still went into the arm and still had I mean, it all worked the way that it did, but as an American designer, you have to take this miniature footage and make it into the CG real thing in a city. I mean, what a cool little project. I thought they really did a great job with it, actually. It looks like shit. We all know that.
Well, I think that like the way that it combined, you're right, they put a lot of thought into it, and I like that a lot. I think it was really just the end result where I was like, this doesn't even really look like a ninja or even resemble the individual animals that make up it, you know, except for the wings. But yeah, it is really exciting. Like you can tell that they were really like, well, we want to push what makes this movie unique. They're going to have unique weapons. Like they're not going to use their weapons from the show. I mean, even when Tommy uses Saba in the one scene that he has Saba, he doesn't even use it as a sword. And then like Saba cuts something, but with his laser vision, not his blade body. You know, so it's like they were really just trying to push the envelope, like, oh, he's gonna fly around and shoot lasers. But
And Rocky has that weird helmet for a hot second.
Yeah.
Oh, and Aisha has
no,
headlights
Aisha
on
has
her.
the headlights. Yeah, that was cool. I liked her.
So I know this kind of goes back to the very beginning, but I missed my note on it. Was that a new Zordon?
Is it a new actor? I think it is a different actor.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, because he looked different.
He looked different.
Yeah.
He looked like Palpatine.
I kind of liked the makeup on Zordon because he's an alien. So I never I think it's lazy if they just look like people. Like even like the nose a little bit was like, okay, yeah. But I don't know how much I dug Alpha. Like I think I grew it actually grew on me by the time the movie ended. But at first I was like, oh my God, like movie Alpha is freaking crazy looking.
Well, that looked different. Oh, I did not even notice.
I thought Alpha looked fine.
With Alpha, how the person's head is on the neck tube.
Yes, you can see
And
I saw that.
It's always been like that on the show, even, but in the movie, they're just like, girl, we're just gonna put it there. And has like a tumor sticking out of it.
It does.
It's difficult to
I missed that completely.
oh no, look at
I could see it when I think it was a she though. She was very tiny. When the camera turns and it's behind the Power Rangers and it's Alpha walking towards Zordon. and I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but the way her like butt piece sat, it kind of like came off kilter as she walked. So you could almost see the black fabric underneath the suit. Did anyone else notice that?
I thought it looked like Alpha was melting the whole movie. Like it felt like Alpha's armor was falling off. Like I couldn't it was like none of it wanted to stay on.
Alpha was having a bad day, okay? Zordon was gonna die.
Like it looked like if you asked me to draw Alpha's grandpa that like can't stand up without a cane, you know? But anyway.
It was a bad day.
Speaking on the new Zordon, I thought it was really funny how like Zordon worked for me. It was also kind of nice to see a Zordon whose mouth kind of matched his words.
Yes.
The only time that they show a close-up of his face is a time that they overdub is for a different sentence than what the mouth is saying. Did you notice that?
No.
I didn't notice that.
Zordon's face is a close-up, and the line is, "You won't get away with this, Ooze." But the mouth is saying something completely different. I mean, completely. And I
They
thought
must have had something else said, and then they were like, that doesn't sound good.
Cut his monologue.
yeah. That is the line that we show in extreme close-up. I always found that so weird. You know?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point.
All right, guys. I think we any last thoughts as we kind of wrap up?
I liked it. It was fun.
I think it's the best movie.
Mhm.
Oh, it's got a lot of great stuff. I mean, I think that like even with everything that ages, there's something else that ages better. Like the puppeteering on the skeleton dinosaur, like everything
That was
like,
cool.
That was really cool. And like as big as the movie is, you know, like as big as legitimate as it's trying to make Power Rangers in a lot of ways, the second they landed after skydiving and they were like, oh, well, thus concludes our jump-a-thon to save the observatory. And like, I just had this thought that I was like, this is Power Rangers. This is the Power Rangers world and the world they inhabit, where they have jump-a-thons to save the observatory. Like everything around it was trying to feel so much more grounded. But then they just had to have their perfectly weird, contrite charity. And I just
no one ever talks about again.
And it's like it barely even played into the movie. It's like, sure, the comet is looming the whole time, but they don't ever really go to the observatory, which I thought was a waste. Like they should have done that. Mm-hmm. But it was just so cool to have that. Like, because if I were to make a Power Ranger movie today, I would definitely have something dumb like that. Where it's like, oh, like we have to interrupt like this car wash to save the turtles to go do something, you know, because that's what they are always doing, you know?
Right.
Anyway.
No,
it's a good point.
That's it. Pterodactyl
That's it.
my final. I thought that was my favorite. I like that they all got new weapons. I love her pterodactyl thunder whip. I thought that was dope.
The whip is cool. Well, I kept thinking about you the whole time because I hadn't seen the Ooze Men. You know, I've looked at your toys more often than I've seen them in the movie because we've been saving to watch it. So it was cool because like the whip and everything that like you pay homage to a lot in your customs, it was nice to kind of, it made me appreciate seeing them again in the movie more, you know, and be like, oh wow, like here they are.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest, like, going back to what you were saying about before of like when did things feel real, and we talked about girls. I think that giving them those new weapons and her having that cool weapon for some reason really resonated with me as a kid. That it was like a movie version. It was very exciting. So I love that. I love that we got these toys. This toy line. I know we talk a lot about the Lightning Collection, but this toy line, in my opinion, was the best toy line that we ever got. And
I have all those guys in boxes as well, except for Aisha. I don't know why. I know.
Well, Rocky's alternate helmet. See?
Oh wow! Look at that. They put a lot of love into those.
You know
They
what?
did.
That's neat.
Props on them are dope. The boxes look great, and yeah, I mean, I think they're probably my favorite Power Ranger toys in my life. Is these 95 movie ones? They're so well done.
Yeah.
It's to have movie accurate armor because they never really did years besides the McDonald's. So if anybody out there has them, I think love them, cherish them because they're old now. I don't know if Hasbro will do them in the Lightning Collection because I don't know if they have rights to the Fox stuff.
That's what we've been saying. Everything they've done, they've not said it outright.
Movie stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they do. I mean, it's so cool to see those because you can see how much love went into, I mean, everything that was unique for the movie had to be designed from scratch. So they had like, you know, film budget. Oh wow, she has the alternate too. They had like, you know, like major motion picture costume designers working on this. Like they had like big budget prop houses that had to redesign the blade blasters, and they don't even take them out of the holster. You know, I kept thinking about that. Like, that's so disappointing. Like, they had to design them from the ground up, and they probably had to design how they fold too, but they never got to actually use them. But anyway.
All right. Yeah. That was a good talk. It was great having you, Toyturd.
Yeah.
What's your socials again?
Oh, I'm just doing Instagram these days. But I'm at Toyturd on Instagram. Toyturd.
Nice.
Follow.
Yeah. You have more followers than us, so you probably
yeah. If you follow us, yeah.
You probably follow. But anyway, yeah, go follow him if you don't. Sweet. 100 episodes, guys. We've been watching Power Rangers 100 weeks in a row. We're going like to every other week now, by the way, but that was I feel accomplished.
Yeah, that was a good run.
It feels like waking up from a coma. You know? Like, how many did I watch? Wow. Yeah.
I think next week for us, or in 2 weeks when we get back together, we'll watch the 3-parter season 3, episode 1, where they get the ninjetti powers in the show.
Okay.
That is episode 1.
Yeah, episode 1 through 3, season 3.
I think episode 1 season the French feed where they mass.
It's the Cayman Rider. You're right. So it's whatever the season episode 3.
Doug. Yeah, you're supposed to be our freaking leader.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll just out nerd you because I tried to visit that too before this. So, anyways, guys,
you're like Doug is our Jason and Toyturd is like the Tommy. Like, I know more.
Okay, you're not Tommy, Doug.
Oh, that's all right.
Ouch.
Bye, you guys. For having.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, that was great having him. Like, subscribe, tell a friend, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. It's not less phenomenal, it's more phenomenal.
More phenomenal.